This one from Valiant Vincent. Connor looking like he just stepped off the set of Happy Gilmore 2. I love it.
That is true.
It's a golf polo.
Or honestly, like, honestly, you kind of look like a waiter at a knockoff theme restaurant. You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm self-deprecating, but I don't think that one lands.
I disagree. Like, hey, welcome to Islands. I'm Connor. Can I get you a Mai Tai?
To me, he looks like a honeybee.
I'll go with that.
Yeah,
the color scheme.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see.
Backup producer Pete says the Rainforest Cafe.
I'm saying.
That's a better one.
Yeah, fair.
Well, you weren't saying that, but you were close. You were trying to get there.
Backup producer Pete, always desperate for his 6 out of 10 jokes to find
Make it to air. Yeah, I filter out which ones make it. That one did. So there you go, Pete. We'll see if any more make it.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm Jake Croucher, Matthew Barry, Lawrence Jackson, and his friend, neck brace. Connor Rogers took offense to our chat yesterday about his attire, so he's out today.
He is. When are you getting this thing off?
Look, listen, I'm just out here not keeping my head on the swivel and just looking forward, literally, to what's next in life. And we'll talk about the brace in another month or two.
You got to wear it for another month?
Yeah.
Or 2?
Yeah.
How do you have to sleep in it?
I sleep in it quite comfortably.
Oh, my God. All right.
Jonathan Medici, 7, little comment. Thursday plus money parlay. Croucher's looking dapper. plus 375. And the Neckler takes a plus money bet on the Bengals. Plus 50. Barry Ells, producer Steven.
I don't know about that one.
Twice in the show, plus 500.
See, this is not going to cash. It's high odds. People will like it.
Sure.
People love the parlays. But here's why this is not going to cash. I don't yell at producer Steven. Now, I throw him under the bus, and him being thrown under the bus, over 1.5 times this episode, I like that bet.
Yeah.
But I don't yell. So I understand why it's at plus money, at plus 500, but I don't think that's a good bet. I'm just telling you. I'm not a yeller.
Yeah. Also, we're coming off a producer Pete day.
Yes.
So it's like, Steven is what he is, but it's a big upgrade.
It's
like Jake Browning and Joe Flacco.
1,000%.
Great that Jamar Chase has a chance of getting in the end zone.
That's such a great compliment to your contrast, because you're right. Like, is Joe Flacco good? No, until you see him next to Jake Browning. You're like, oh, my God, he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
So I think in Steven's case, it sounds even worse.
No. Coming in after, like, Steven on a Monday show where we have expectations is different than Steven on a Thursday show after a backup producer Pete day, where you're just sort of like, oh, my God, all I'm hoping is just that the show sort of runs on time and that Steven doesn't get in my ear and say a bunch of nonsense that makes no sense.
The best part of that intro clip was Connor relaying that producer Pete was saying in his ear, recommending the joke about the Rainforest Cafe, which was one of the 75 things that producer Pete recommended in our ears yesterday. It was unbelievable. It's like I was hearing voices. I felt like a crazy person.
It was the first time he'd actually paid attention to the show. Usually he's flipping through a magazine, but more on TikTok, trying to remember his kids' names.
Okay.
But anyway.
Let's
get it. It's Love-Hate Day, week 7.
We love producer Pete sometimes, but he's not part of Love-Hate today. But Breece Hall is, so we start off with love-hate running backs. We heard from Breece Hall on the trade rumors that are swirling around him.
This is probably my 5th month dealing with this now. So at this point, it is what it is. I'm here. I want to be here. I love being a New York Jet and everything, but at the end of the day, I don't control what goes on. I only control what I do on the field and how I handle my business off the field. So, for me, it's all about, like I said, servicing my teammates and coaches the best way I can, and letting God handle whatever else. I'm every day I come out, like I said, I'm servicing my teammates and coaches, glorifying God, and letting whatever happens after that.
Okay, well, it might be Breece Hall's last appearance on the love list as a New York Jet. Who knows? But he is there, Matthew. You're counting on him tuning out the noise in a favorable matchup against Carolina.
Yeah, you see him right there at running back 12. Since Braylon Allen went on IR, it's basically been the Breece Hall show. 82% of the Jets' running back touches in the 2 games since Allen went down. And so you're like, okay, he's going to get a heavy workload. What does that mean? Well, against Carolina, it means quite a bit, because 3 of the 4 running backs that have seen at least 15 touches against the Carolina Panthers this year have scored at least 16 or more fantasy points. Garrett Wilson, unlikely to play in this game, or even if he does, he'd be less than 100%. My expectation is that Garrett Wilson misses this game. So you're like, what's this offense? It's going to be Justin Fields' legs, Breece Hall's legs, Mason Taylor catching some balls, but it's a good matchup against Carolina. So, yeah, I think Breece Hall, I understand people being like, dude, I cannot go back to the Jets offense after what I just saw last week. I get it. Speaking as somebody who squeaked by in a guillotine league and where I started Justin Fields by literally 0.7, I get it. But I do think they're no way they're as bad as they were last week, and that Breece Hall has a floor, especially given the matchup against the Carolina Panthers.
Last week was a tough game. Like, it was not to.
Is that what happened to your neck? You watched that game, and then that just, you're like,
I was in the
surgery?
game, playing for the Jets, trying to catch a pass from Fields. Like, I was like, oh, man, I broke the net. Now I'm back here on a fantasy football show. But nonetheless, that Denver Broncos defense, man, it's tough. And if you, again, I think we talked about it on pregame, the Broncos kind of just like, people forget about the fact that they only put up 13 points too against the Jets, but the Jets offense was so bad, it just left a stench on us in what seems like for a lot of fantasy managers forever. But Matthew, to your point, if you look at this matchup with the Carolina Panthers, a lot of guys like Breece Hall and Justin Fields and Mason Taylor should get a lot of relief in this matchup.
Yeah, it's so funny the way people talk about the Jets-Broncos game. So it's like a traumatic experience. It's a stain on the great sport of football.
It's like you can never play another football game again.
Send international relations with Britain back decades.
My grandfather, served in the war. You know what I mean? And like hearing the stories that he talked about is like when I hear football fans. I understand you served overseas, but you know what? I had to watch Broncos Jets from start to finish.
Mr. T, Breece on Chiefs would wreck our worlds. Can we just get him to Kansas City? Can we get him to Kansas City? It'd be so fun.
Anyone to Kansas City.
Really tired of watching Kareem Hunt.
Well, it would solve Breece Hall's issues. It would serve. It would solve our issues of trying to figure out which of Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco is going to stink less. We can't free Brashad Smith. Anyway, it's.
Well, what happens when Breece Hall gets on the Chiefs and he makes a 42-yard run on like 3 carries? Then Kareem Hunt comes into the game.
It'd be annoying, but at least it would be better than what we have here. I saw a tweet, and I don't know if it's from like a real account or anything like that. But
let's say it anyway.
Well, but it's just so funny. Like that there was some report out there that the Seahawks are exploring trying to trade for Devon Achane.
Sure.
You're like, stop it! What are we doing here? I would like my friend JJ quote tweeted it. JJ Zachariason quote tweeted it, said, "I would quit fantasy football," and I get it, JJ. I hear you. That would be awful.
That was so.
Okay, let's keep it rolling. My addition to the love list: Jacory Croskey-Merritt.
Yes, sir.
The Cowboys run defense, who just turned Uncle Rico into Uncle LaDainian Tomlinson, circa 2004. So amazing matchup, and the key thing is that I get that it was a little lost because, speaking of traumatic experiences, Monday night for Matthew, as the Commanders lose to the Bears, and JCM didn't do a ton in that game, but he got a massive workload. He got 17 of the 20 running back carries that the Commanders had. That continues the trend from the previous week where he's gone from like 50% of the touches to 70% of the touches and above. So I think, Matthew, that this is just JCM's backfield, and I think that he could absolutely explode against the Cowboys. Bottom
3 run defense as well. I agree with you. The usage is there. The explosiveness is there. He hasn't put it all together yet. The fumbles have hurt a little bit, but in a game in which it's the over-under is 54.5. It's the highest game on the Week 7 slate. So I think you want as much a part of that game as you can get. And because there's so much uncertainty around the Commanders' offense, JCM, Bill Croskey-Merritt, is one of the few that you can sort of say, like, all right, that's a guy that's going to get between 15 and 20 touches in a high-scoring game.
Yep. Another rookie with a favorable matchup, Matthew, is Quinshon Judkins.
Sure.
Who didn't do a great deal against the Steelers. That was tough because they were playing from behind the whole game. Might have more favorable game script against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually favored, right? I mean, so, like, it's rare. They're 2.5-point favorites at home against the Dolphins. Is shocking, but the point is game script shouldn't affect Quinshon Judkins, who should get a massive workload against this Dolphins defense, guys, that's been brutal. Over the last 4 weeks, they're giving up 150 yards, rushing yards per game. That's most in the NFL. They're giving up 6.4 yards per carries to opposing running backs. Now, obviously, some of that is skewed by what Rico Dowdle did to them, but still, 4 weeks is a long track record here. 4 of their past 5 games, they've given up at least 20 fantasy points to opposing running backs. So you're not like, well, was it just the Rico Dowdle game? No. 4 out of the past 5 games, a running back has scored at least 20 fantasy points against the Miami Dolphins. And so Judkins, where it should be a neutral or favorable game script for the Browns, should get a lot of run. I have him as a top 15 play. I think he probably gets into the end zone in this one as well. He should be a chubby leather daddy this week. He should be in your starting lineup.
He'll be fully chubbed up.
Yeah.
Dressed in tight leather. Speaking, Lawrence, of another guy who has a good chance to get into
You're
the
wearing
end
a
zone.
neck brace. But you can't talk crap about it. You're in a neck brace.
And it still ain't tighter than some chubby daddy leather pants.
Stop it.
It's good.
You're wearing a camouflage hat and a neck brace.
Oh, it's very,
on national television.
Okay, not quite as chubby.
Quinshon Judkins, you wear those leather pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't wear them too high like he did at Ohio State.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a leatherless running back, but a running back nonetheless. Kareem Hunt gets a very favorable matchup, Lawrence, against the Raiders, where the Chiefs are almost 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and guess what? Kareem Hunt, 187 rushing yards through 6 games.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, right? Under 4 yards a carry, but he's got 3 rushing touchdowns. Guess how much Isaiah Pacheco has? 0. Kareem Hunt has 5 carries inside the 5. That's where he scored all 3 of his touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco, 0 carries inside the 5. Now we talk about the Raiders part of this equation. They're tied for allowing the 3rd most rushing touchdowns to the running back position. I think we all expect the Kansas City Chiefs to be near that goal line early and often. They're also 11.5-point favorites, so expect Kareem Hunt to at least find the end zone again here, despite what happens in between the 20s.
They do seem to like him a lot and trust him in those goal-to-go situations. Raiders are not their run defense is better than their pass defense, but it's not like the run defense is amazing. It's it's 15th. It's middle of the pack over the last 4 weeks. But to your point, the Chiefs' offense, especially in a week in which Rashee Rice is back, is just rolling. You know what I mean? And, we've talked about this. We think Mahomes is kind of goes scorched earth the rest of the way. And so, they get in close. 1 or 2 of those are going to Kareem Hunt. I think he's got as good a chance.
Pacheco there.
No, they don't at all. So I like there's a reasonable expectation that he falls in the end zone at least once this weekend.
Yep. Let's get to others receiving votes, headlined by another guy with a chance of getting into the end zone. That's Jaylen Warren tonight, Matthew.
Yeah, Bengals are allowing 166 yards from scrimmage to opposing running backs. They're giving up at least 17 points to a running back in every game this season, the Bengals are. And so in a game where you've got older quarterbacks on a short week, expect a heavy run game from Pittsburgh and Jaylen Warren. You see him as a top 15 play for me. How about J.K. Dobbins? I know last week wasn't great, but now he's playing the Giants, who are giving up running back rushing touchdowns at the 7th highest rate. Dobbins continues to be the lead back of the Denver Broncos. And I get it, Rhamondre Stevenson, not the sexiest play, but it's worth noting that no team in the NFL has given up more rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs this year than the Tennessee Titans. Have given up at least 1 running back rushing touchdown in every game this year. Literally every game this year, they've given it up. Stevenson has seen 83% of the Patriots' goal line attempts in the last 2 games. They just don't want to seem to give Travion Henderson a lot of work, Lawrence, and also no Antonio Gibson. And this is a revenge game for Mike Vrabel. He's going to want to run up the score, a lot of touchdowns. I think Rhamondre's got a good shot at getting in.
I kind of see him as the same. Well, not the same as Kareem Hunt,
but he's in that mix. Yeah.
Rhamondre Stevenson. The difference between them is Stevenson to get more volume there. So, yeah, definitely like him here.
When's the last time Rhamondre Stevenson was sexy? I feel like his career just completely bypassed.
3 years ago.
He never got to wear the leather.
Somewhere, did we take it down? We had a Rhamondre Stevenson jersey up here on the wall somewhere, and we took it down because we couldn't justify it anymore. We hung tough with it. We should do that.
Yeah, some calls from above.
Producer Steven, make a note of this. We should do a segment one time of just fallen jerseys, where we get all the jerseys. What
about Barry 29? We had 6.
How many points is Barry getting us per week?
None whatsoever. Yeah. That should be the first one that comes out.
I'll tell you what, Cam Ward and Travis Hunter are in trouble.
Cam Ward and Travis Hunter are in trouble.
Hall, Derrick Henry, the fallen king.
We have C.J. Stroud there in the back corner. He's hanging tough, but he's hitting a little bit.
A.J. Brown.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Sad Malik Neighbors, by the way. Bowers has been tough.
I think most.
We had a Dameon Pierce jersey at one point.
I think most of them up there is still legit. Like you should have to completely fall off the cliff. I remember my man Anthony Richardson jersey used to sit right behind you, Matthew.
Yep.
And then it was.
No, we had a Richardson jersey. We had a Dameon Pierce one.
Yep.
We had a Cooper Kupp Rams jersey that we don't have anymore.
Stunningly, no Chubb jerseys, which is disappointing given their
Gotta
prevalence
get that
on
up
the
here,
show.
Texans.
Yeah, comment
Nick
from Irish 54 Sweet. The set designer fumbled the jersey as they took it off the wall.
It's a Stevenson joke.
Yeah,
not bad.
Joke. Yeah,
not bad.
Took me a second, but I got there.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Okay, didn't hate that joke. Let's get to the hate list, though. And friend of the show, Matthew, Tony Pollard, headlines it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we really like Tony Pollard. Unfortunately, we don't like the timeshare that he's in. Tajay Spears came out last week and played on 68% of the pass plays. Again, they were trailing a little bit, but still, 42% of the snaps. That's what Tony Pollard played last week. You see it right there on your screen. 42% of the snaps. That was a season low. And it's not, I don't think it's a coincidence that his season low happened in the first game that Tajay Spears was back, right? It's not a great matchup against the Patriots. They allow the second fewest rushing yards per game to running backs. And so you've got a guy that's in a timeshare, in a tough matchup, in a game in which we think, honestly, the Patriots are rolling right now. Like, Drake May looks great. Mm-hmm. And so in a game in which they're probably trailing, Tennessee's probably trailing with a new head coach. I mean, there's lots of variance here, but, could they be inspired by a new head coach, or could it just be a disaster because it's all disorganized? It could go either way. I think the Patriots are up in this game. They're trailing, they're throwing, and that means it's Tajay Spears, not Tony Pollard.
Yeah, and it's no shock to see Tajay Spears in this particular role. That goes back to his rookie year when he played with Derrick Henry. There was a lot of weeks where Tajay Spears played more snaps in the game than Derrick Henry, and he ended up catching 50-plus passes as a rookie. So if the Titans are losing, which they are most of the time, you're going to see a lot of Tajay Spears.
Indeed. Also some uncertainty, Lawrence, in Arizona around the running back usage. Also not 100% on the quarterback, but between Bam Knight and Michael Carter, tough matchup against the Packers run defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't twist your neck playing any one of these Cardinals running backs. And I say
maybe
Cardinals,
that's what you did. Maybe that's what you did.
That's exactly what I did. And the reason I say Cardinals running backs because I don't know which one to talk about here because we don't even know which one we should put in our lineup. Last week, by committee, they carried the ball 21 times for only 69 yards against the Colts. No player has averaged more than 3.8 yards per carry last week. You see what they did to Chase Brown last week.
Yeah.
This Green Bay defense, 11 touches, 49 yards. And that's one guy. So now you got Bam Knight, Michael Carter, probably a carry or two for DeMarcado.
If he's healthy, yeah.
It's just not pretty for that backfield going up against Green Bay's top run defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I had to pick one, it'd be Bam Knight. He's shown the most, and they seem to trust him. But yes, in an ideal world, you're avoiding that situation.
The crazy thing is, remember, we got that update that said Bam Knight was going to be the guy. Yeah. Michael Carter ended up starting and getting 4 or 5 carries before Bam Knight even got on the field. So that's what's confusing about it.
But the person that made that report got bailed out because Bam Knight got into the touchdown.
Did he?
Yeah.
Comment from Raise the Flags, dumpster diving, PPR, Michael Mayer, Bam Knight, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Johnson, or should I just not watch football this week?
Yeah, I think, honestly, not until Sunday night. You should always watch Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man. You know what? Charbonnet would be interesting in a normal week because he is splitting with Ken Walker. It's a pretty good offense, and they seem to like Charbonnet around the goal line. But they're playing Houston this week. Houston off of a bye, right? Houston's had 2 weeks to prepare for this. They've literally over the last month, no team has been better against the run than the Houston Texans. So I actually think the answer here is Michael Mayer. And they used him a lot. Jacoby Myers on the trade block. I think there's a decent chance that Jacoby Myers does not play this week, either because he's truly injured or because they trade him or because they want to keep him off the they don't want him to get injured because they do want to deal him and Jacoby wants out. So I think that there's mutual agreement and probably him not playing and hurting his chances of getting to another team. So I think Mayer is very likely the #1 pass target for Geno Smith in a game which they should be trailing, right? I mean, we don't expect Brock Bowers to play in this game. They're on the road at Kansas City. Chiefs have struggled against tight ends a little bit. Laporta had a nice game last week. So I think the answer is there is Michael Mayer.
Can you imagine? Start of last year, Raiders have got Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. You tell Raiders fans, 14 months from now, your #1 pass catching option is going to be Michael Mayer.
Yeah, with Trey Tucker and Jack Besh or something. Like, I mean, it's just, good times.
Cam Skattebo, who is talk of the town.
Yes.
Vibes are off the charts for the Giants fans. It's kind of sickening at the moment, really. Backup producer Pete, after the Eagles win last week, he sent me a text message without any context saying, I am invincible, I will never die. Which is just an absolute disgrace of a message to send another man.
Well, here's what that is. Can I interpret that for you?
Yeah.
Once again, so here's what happens. Backup producer Pete, when he watches the Giants, especially on a standalone game, like he works Sundays, believe it or not, on Football Night in America. He's part of our crew there. No one gets it. I get it. But what happens is like it's a Thursday night, and so there's Pete, once at home, ignoring his children, probably not wearing pants, watching these Giants, watching the Giants take it to the Eagles. It's the greatest night of backup producer Pete's life, and so he is drunk.
Yeah.
You got drunk texted, and I think shout out to Mrs. Backup producer Pete, because God knows what that woman puts up with, right? But like at least like he's drunk texting you, and not
exactly.
some high school flame or whatever.
Sure.
He's drunk texting you
about his invincibility.
and so that's what that is.
Yeah.
He was completely drunk out of his mind.
He's texting you with no pants.
Yeah,
with no pants.
No pants.
Troubling. Well, another guy I'm not sure wears pants around the house, and good for him. Bam Bam Wrecking Cam Skattebo. Quite a caption there, coming off the Bam Night discussion, no less.
He took his shirt off in the post game.
Exactly.
This is not a man that can be contained by clothing.
The vibes are unbelievable at the Meadowlands. But you saw the workload has just been incredible, even with Tyrone Tracy coming back. Cam Skattebo still saw 72% of the snaps. He's getting red zone carries. He's getting even some pass game work as well. But going up against the Broncos, this is different. And I understand the Eagles are supposed to have a good defense. Well, they haven't had a great defense lately, and they're also missing Jalen Carter and Quinshon Mitchell in that defense. So the Jets
He fell into the end zone 3 times. Like, again, he had a good game, and the Giants overall were good, but like that was Tyrone Tracy's first game back. And I certainly wouldn't start Tyrone Tracy, but Tyrone Tracy probably gets a ramped up workload.
A little bit.
Skattebo is still the guy you're going to want to start if you have to start a Giants running back, but there's going to be enough Tyrone Tracy that annoys you if you're starting Cam Skattebo. So I get the concern here against Denver.
Broncos probably the best defense in football as well. All right, let's jump to the pass catches, headlined by Davante Adams, who we heard from, talking about practicing at Camden Yards ahead of the London game.
Think he's got the Taco Bell in his house?
This is grass. We got enough space. We're not using really 100 yards as it normally. So I know the defense probably not thrilled about having 25 yards of field here. But yeah, I mean they can work on red zone stuff, so we'll be okay.
In Oakland, they used to play in a stadium where the baseball field was part of it. Can you imagine having to play football games on a baseball infield?
I think whoever was the head of the CBA at that point, we got to somehow bring them back up, and we can't let them get away with this because that'd be crazy. I would not want to fall on this, and they were playing on it when I was in the league too. I just never had the privilege of playing on a baseball infield before.
Every Baltimore Oriole got injured this year, so hopefully it's not contagious for Davante. But he's going to be the #1 guy in London, Matthew, with a severe doubt around Puka Nakua's ability to go.
Yeah, and so he should get a massive target share. He normally does, but with no Puka Nacua against Jacksonville, he should get a massive target share. There's been 3 different wide receivers this year, guys. 3 different wide receivers that have seen at least a 30% target share against the Jags. All of them scored at least 22 fantasy points. Right now, there's only one guy in the NFL that's second that has more end zone targets than Davante Adams. Sort of that connection that he had with Aaron Rodgers when they get in close and just like the short slant stuff or even the fades or whatever. It's continued with Matthew Stafford. They're looking for him when he gets in close. He's got 70%, 69% and change of the Rams' end zone targets here. Davante Adams. He's my wide receiver 3 this week.
Incredible that George Pickens has almost doubled up the third in Keenan Allen, almost in terms of end zone.
And that Malik Neighbors is still tied for 4th, despite the fact he hasn't played in 2 weeks.
Yeah, indeed.
That's
unbelievable.
the best stat on there, the Malik Neighbors.
Tyquan Thornton, who couldn't get a look last week as well.
Couldn't believe it.
Oh, my God. That drove me crazy. Drove me crazy. Drove my parlay crazy, too.
A guy who's been getting...
Last week was a tough week for your boy Matty here. I'm just letting you know.
That's the beauty is always next week.
Yeah,
it's always
sure.
Sunday night.
Hey, look, you play me this week in the League of Assholes. You always, have a chance to ruin my season because now it's no one wants to be the first one.
I know.
That's
Pressure's
pressure.
now on you.
That's pressure.
My season's over, so now all I can do is just be a spoiler. And so, Lawrence, think about that. Like, I have yet to win this year. And if you are the team that loses to me, and you've got James Cook on a bye, I catch you at a small, with a small weakness
Jonathan
here.
Taylor, if you can hear me, if you're watching this, I'm going to need about 5 touchdowns, buddy.
JT watches the show. Another guy who watches the show, a friend of the show, Deebo Samuel, who's been getting a lot of work this year. Looks like Terry McLaurin might come back, but still plenty of scoring to go around against Dallas.
Yeah, even if Terry McLaurin does come back, hell, we just like that overall for the Commanders' offense. If anything, that'll open up things more for Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
You got Deebo Samuel going up against this Dallas Cowboys defense, ranked dead last in pass defense, dead last in allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. Now, he only had a 19% target share in Week 6. However, one of those targets was in the end zone. Jaden Daniels just a little bit late on the throw, and it was picked. And then we talk about the over-under here, 54.5, the highest in Week 7. So you're definitely going to want to have Deebo Samuel in there this week versus the Cowboys.
Yep. Another game with the potential for points, Matthew. The Saints at Bears, two defenses that are not super imposing at the moment. And Chris Olave, who hasn't got a lot of national run because the Saints are the Saints and the NFC South, etc. But Olave's been getting a ton of work this year.
He has. He's had at least 10 targets in all but one game this season. His 32% target share ranks 4th. So why do I mention, Jay? Why do I mention the fact that he basically gets 10 targets in almost every single game? Well, because of the 4 wide receivers that saw at least 7 targets against the Bears this season, 3 of them have scored a touchdown. Ergo, ipso facto, as such, if you get a lot of targets against the Bears as a wide receiver, you tend to have a very good likelihood of scoring a touchdown. Chris Olave, by the way, is my number 10 running back, wide receivers. You see it right there. This is on the target leaders. So this shows you that he gets a lot of looks. I'm telling you, he's my number 10 wide receiver this week. Bears both away, giving up 15.3 yards per reception to wide receivers. 15.3 yards per reception. That is the most in the NFL. Most of the sport, Jay. It's the most of the sport.
Of football.
Yeah, of the sport of
as it's
football.
known.
Anyway, Olave's a top 10 play for me this week.
So crazy, Christian McCaffrey
I was about to
has
say
more
the
targets
same
than
thing. I was about to say,
Jaxson,
shout out to
Jackson,
him.
Smith, and Jigba.
Top 3 in targets at the running back spot.
Yeah.
He needs their pass catchers.
He does. Okay. And by the way, there's real debate now. Who's the best McCaffrey in that family? Did you see Luke on Monday Night Football? Come on. Catching a touchdown. Hail Commanders, hail victory.
Okay. A guy who is coming back, Mike Evans, who is...
I love sometimes when he just doesn't touch it, Lawrence. I love it when I just try to F with Jay and he just like takes one moment, he takes a beat, and then just moves on. He
just tried to run that one down the field like Tez Johnson, sprinting for a Baker Mayfield touchdown. A guy who might be catching Baker Mayfield's touchdowns this week, Mike Evans, who practiced yesterday, seems to be trending in the right direction for a Monday return. And he would make the love list if he plays. If he doesn't go, then Sterling Shepard, I think, is in great position. Regardless, I think there's a good chance Sterling Shepard is the number 2 pass catcher on this offense. And this is mainly a result of the fact that Detroit have no cornerbacks left. No. Brian Branch is suspended. Kirby Joseph is dragging around one leg. The total is north of 50. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. And ultimately, wouldn't be surprised at all if Mike Evans gets into the end zone.
Would love that, by the way, because I've been waiting all year for Mike Evans. So if I could use him again,
don't take one more game off, Mike.
If I can use him against Lawrence this week, that would be amazing. So Mike Evans, if you're watching, really could use you back, buddy. Really could use you back. By the way, that banged up Detroit Lions secondary and the fact that they give up a lot of yards on deep passes will come up again later in the show. That's a little bit of a foreshadowing for you.
Julio, I think you are with a perceptive comment. Jay's transitions have been smooth, very underappreciated skill.
I agree with that, actually, Julio. I know, I agree with you. You are better than you have any right to be as a host.
All right, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
All right. Another guy who is better than he has any right to be in an offense with Dylan Gabriel, Harold Fannin Jr., who is working the middle of the field, which is the only place where Dylan Gabriel wants to throw it.
That's right.
If you're a Browns tight end, You want Dylan Gabriel to be the franchise quarterback.
Right.
That he gonna throw it from here to here every time.
He ain't getting it past 15 yards. Like, you know, he's kind of noodle arming it there. But look, Fannin's usage last week was unbelievable. 78% route participation, which was a season high. He also had a utilization score. Again, this is the score that they've come up with at Fantasy Life that uses underlying metrics to predict future performance on an easy 1 to 100 scale about how much they're used and how, you know, are they used on passing, passing routes, et cetera, down in distance, et cetera. Scale of 1 to 100, his utilization score last week was 90. That's fourth best among all tight ends. Like, so he was basically out there every single play, and it's a nice match with Miami. Dolphins, 5th most yards per game for tight ends, 7th most fantasy points. And David Njoku did not practice yesterday. He's got a knee injury. He's day-to-day. We're all day-to-day. But I think there's a chance, especially just what we're talking about Jacoby Myers, David Njoku rumored to be on the trade block. And so whether it's a real injury or whether it's a, hey, we just need you to not get hurt so we can get something for you on the trade market, you know, there's a chance that, and there's a decent chance Njoku doesn't play for one reason or another this week. I have Fannin as a top 8 fantasy tight end this week.
Yep. I thought one of the funniest moments of the season was when Kevin Stefanski called Hail Mary for Dylan Gabriel in London against the Vikings, and the Hail Mary didn't come close to the end zone. And then they got called back, and then the next play, we're like, we're not doing that again. We're going to run something
they threw it 52 times.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, let's get to others receiving votes. A guy who got off the schneid in a big way and won the Chargers of the game. Well, it was really Justin Herbert who won the Chargers of the game, breaking out that Jaylen Phillips sack. But Lad McConkey with huge signs of life, Matthew.
Hey, McConkulus, right? Over the last 2 games, they finally remembered that Lad McConkey's on their team. He's got 5 red zone targets in the past 2 weeks. First 4 games, he had 1 red zone target total. So 5 in the last 2 games. It's a nice matchup against your Colts, who allow the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Jay, Kenny Moore came back to practice in a limited fashion yesterday, their star slot corner, but I think it's still unsure. Is he going to play this week? And even if he does, is he going to be limited somewhat? Could he, maybe just in his first game back from this injury, play, limited snaps? I have McConkey, as you saw there. Ivan's a top 20 play this week. We don't know about QJ either. He practiced yesterday, but again, you're not 100% sure. Anything with hammies, he was limited as well. So
Travaris Ward also in concussion protocol for the Colts. He's their best corner along with Moore.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So it's we like the matchup for McConkey.
Yep. Some others receiving votes too. Rashee Rice kind of explains itself. I think the good thing with Rashee Rice is that it doesn't seem like there's going to be any limitations. He's just going to be full go from the get-go.
He wasn't hurt.
So here's what I would say. For everyone out there that has Rashee Rice on your roster, and I'm one of them, right? I don't know if you guys have any Rashee Rice this year on any of your teams, right? Okay. So we've all been waiting. We've all been waiting for Rashee Rice, waiting for him to get back so we can put him into our lineup. Well, there's not very much in this world I can say, but you know what? That's something that you and I and Patrick Mahomes have in common. Because like we've been sitting here waiting, like I want Rashee Rice back on that field. So is Patrick Mahomes. So is 15. He's like, oh, here's my guy. Because last year, in the 3 full games that Rashee Rice played, he had a 33.7% target share. Almost a 34% target share. And yes, they've added Xavier Worthy. He's expanded his route tree. They got Hollywood Brown healthy. They found some stuff with Tyquan Thornton. Kelsey still looks solid. But I'm just telling you, they are going to, just like you're excited to get Rashee Rice back on the field, so is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think they target him early and often in this game, wanting to welcome him back, wanting to get in the speed of it. And oh, by the way, it's the Raiders, who are like one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. They're bottom 5 in terms of most fantasy points and yards allowed to opposing wide receivers. Give me all the Rashee Rice this weekend.
So I think what you're telling those fantasy managers out there who have them and maybe questioning, do I put him in the first week? Hell yeah. Because like you said, you waited this long to do it. He's no worse than your wide receiver 3 on your team. Probably your wide receiver 2 or 1 with all these injuries that have crept up. So put him right in your fantasy lineup.
If you had been told at the beginning of the season he wasn't being suspended, he'd have been drafted inside the top 15 among wide receivers.
Indeed.
If you knew he was playing every game.
When he got hurt last year, he was playing like a top 6, 7 wide receiver in the sport, so to speak. All right, let's race through this.
He's got weekly wide receiver 1 upside.
Yep. Let's race through these others receiving votes, Matthew. Travis Hunter, Tez Johnson, and Cade Otton.
Travis Hunter, his route participation has increased 3 straight weeks, 86% last week. That was a season high. Liam Cohen said this week that designing plays where he's the first read is an option. So they're going to design more plays. They're going to call more plays to try to get Hunter the ball. You mentioned, in terms of Tez Johnson, you mentioned Mike Evans, but still, Tez Johnson, he's got his average up the target this year is 16.1 yards. Half of his targets have come on deep passes. Now, this would be somewhat skewed again if Evans does play, but Detroit allows the second most receptions per game on deep passes. Oh, by the way, Cade Otton, I will also just mention here, speaking of that same game, last week he had a 26% target share. Games over the last 2 years where he's gotten a north of 20% target share. Cade Otton averaging almost 15 fantasy points per game. So again, we think this is a shootout game. Detroit secondary super beat up. So I want as much a piece of the Buccaneers passing attack as I can. I'd be less bullish about Tez if Evans is in fact healthy, but I do think Cade Otton is a potential tight end streamer this week.
Okay, let's jump to the hate list, headlined by, from my Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman Jr., who gets a bit of a tough matchup against the Chargers, and he's also now just part of this very crowded pass-catching group for Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chargers are a good defense, right? I mean, Chargers allow the third fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and so Michael Pittman, since week 2, where he's only had one game with more than 41 receiving yards, so he's weirdly been getting by on some of these touchdowns, but he's got 4 touchdowns on the year, but he's only seeing 17% of the Colts' red zone targets. He's not Tyler Warren, he's not Jonathan Taylor, sorry. He's not Jonathan Taylor or Tyler Warren or some of these guys that they look more often to when they get in close, and so that point is just basically he's outscored the amount of looks he's getting, which means touchdown regression, negative touchdown regression is coming. And so you're like, well, if he's not getting over 41 receiving yards and his odds of getting into the end zone are getting lesser because just that's how odds work. I'm nervous about him this week. He's my wide receiver 33.
Yep. Just one thing to monitor there is that it was a bit of a surprise. Josh Downs popped up on concussion protocol yesterday. So if he isn't able to go, then Pittman, the outlook gets a little bit rosier. But regardless, he's still a dog to get into the end zone.
Anthony Gould.
Yeah, Anthony Gould. Ashton Dulin.
Ashton Dulin,
who, by the way, Lou Anarumo is using as a defensive pass rusher on exotic snaps, which was fun to see. Didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
A.D. Mitchell gets out of the doghouse just because they need somebody.
Indeed. All right, another veteran pass catcher who plays a lot in the slot might be trending down. In that same game, Keenan Allen, who hasn't really started off really hot, amazing week 1 against the Chiefs, but starting to trend downward. Quinton Johnston coming back. If he's going to be in the slot, Kenny Moore coming back. I think there's just a lot of momentum factors going against Keenan Allen at this point. So whereas he looked like he might be, wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2, I think he's just now more of a flex type of operator.
Yeah, we did the blind resume yesterday where Keenan Allen splits where he started off red hot and it's kind of trending down a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, Xavier Worthy, we just talked about Rashee Rice coming back. He is the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs, and for Worthy being such a deep ball threat, so far this season, his longest receptions are 37, 19, and 14 yards. Only a 15% target share so far. And as I said earlier, they're 11.5-point favorites against these Raiders, so you don't love that for the Chiefs' second or third receiving option.
Yep. One of the greatest rivalries in sports is coming your way this weekend. Number 13, Notre Dame hosts their bitter rivals. Number 2, USC heads to South Bend Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Tune in to see our friend Connor Rogers on the broadcast. Stuntman Chuck 85, matchup of the year. The neck brace versus the bare ankle Barry.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go anklers.
Video is illegal in most states of America. All right, we're going to hit our first break. When we come back, quarterback love hate.
Alfred Morris was the guy that had the most touches in the red zone. He actually was out snapping Matt Breida. Matt Breida was more effective, but Alfred Morris was the guy that actually was getting more run, was getting more red zone looks coming to this game. And you know what? Some people, and by some people I mean me, this guy was down by 0.9 points. Literally, I needed 1 point from Alfred Morris. And do I get that point? I don't get that point. I don't get that point. It's 1 point. It's one stupid point. He actually gets it because this league gets you points for first downs. So he got one snap and he got an 8-yard carry and he converts the first down. I win. But no, of course, because you know what happens? The 49ers have a holding penalty and it gets called back and it's its only snap. I'm praying for a stat correction. It's the most frustrating loss. I've been playing fantasy sports for 30 years. And it is the most frustrating loss I've ever had in my life. 1 point.
Wow.
There you go. Alfred Morris, drinks for free. Today is the 7-year anniversary of that rant. 7 years ago, I just lost my S. I just completely lost it on air doing my old fantasy focus. And Mike Clay.
Yeah. Poor, he had to console you.
Yeah.
You know.
Daniel Dopp is behind the screen in that clip. It's a longer clip if you want to look for it on YouTube. It's like a 5-minute clip. I did like a 5-minute rant that I just had to get it out because I'd been watching this Monday Night Football game where I was down by literally less than a point. I needed 1 point. I had what I thought was the starting running back of the 49ers, Alfred Morris, and Kyle Shanahan, like out of the blue, Raheem Mostert, who'd been a special teams guy the entire season, suddenly gets the lead.
Very looks like a tomato.
Oh my God!
Bricks. Yeah, very red.
I was so angry.
It was a very moving speech.
Oh,
it's like
you should watch the whole 5-minute version. You should watch the director's cut of it, the 5-minute version of it on YouTube. It's unbelievable. Anyway, today is the 7.
I didn't know Barry had that much hair back then.
Yeah.
That's what 7 years does to a man in this game.
Yeah, working with these two. That's what Alfred Morris will do to you. You would have seen after the next day, basically it was this because of that loss. 1 point. I needed 1 point.
Okay, well.
1 stupid point.
Yeah. Another guy with not much hair, but
7-year anniversary of that rant.
All right. Love 8 quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Matthew. Speaking of sadness, he gets a favorable matchup against your Washington Commanders.
He does. 4 of the last 5 quarterbacks to face my beloved Commanders have scored at least 18 fantasy points and thrown for at least 250 yards. We're giving up 9.1 yards per pass attempt over that stretch. It's the most in the NFL. We're 28th in pass defense. And Dak, which is not good. By the way, that's bottom 5. And this game's on the road at Dallas for Washington's defense. And Dak Prescott is playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a chance CeeDee Lamb is back this week as well. He's practicing.
Yeah, but Dak, like you said, Dak is playing so good, it hasn't even mattered. He's just charged up George Pickens, unfortunately for Dak.
Everyone but Jalen Tolbert.
Forever. It's never going to be Jalen Tolbert no matter what.
Hey, Dallas. Jalen, you know what Jalen Tolbert's nickname should be? It should be Fetch. Stop trying to make Jalen Tolbert work. It's like Fetch. Stop trying to make Fetch work.
Yeah.
Do you guys get that reference?
Yeah.
It's a little older.
All right. He on the team.
That's what his name is. Jalen Tolbert is now Fetch. Yeah. Stop trying to make Jalen Tolbert work.
Okay. Another man who I don't have any transition there. Patrick Mahomes.
Dak Prescott is my number 3 quarterback this week. There you go.
Yeah. He's comeback player of the year favorite. He would be in the MVP mix if he had a defense. He does not. Man who has a bit better of a defense and is now the MVP favorite is Patrick Mahomes, who gets a very favorable matchup against the Raiders, whose secondary is not super imposing. The pass defense of the Raiders is basically Max Crosby and then pray that someone else does something at the moment. Mahomes gets Rashee Rice back, and he's already turned the corner. He's been an absolute monster the past 3 weeks. The first few weeks, he's kind of depending on the rushing, which is going to be a bit unstable. But the past few weeks, he's done it through the air. He has 8 passing touchdowns over those 3 games, and he just did whatever he wanted against the Lions. He's getting better pass protection with Rice coming back. This is the best set of receivers that Mahomes has had since Tyreek Hill was in town, basically. I think what he has now is better than 2022 when Juju Smith-Schuster was his lead receiver. So everything trending up for Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Jay's transition skills getting pushed to the limit, and we found his breaking point. Let's agree. Jonathan Medici 7. Yeah, Matthew, we're just
You know what? I got to tell you something. Jonathan Medici 7 is having a strong week.
Yeah, he's been on a heater.
He's been on a heater this week.
Good volume play.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he is very high in the power rankings for the regulars come Friday, tomorrow.
You get a lot of carries, get a lot of targets, you reach the end zone.
Is he the Rico Dowdle of the regulars? Like, suddenly Medici getting a lot of run, and all of a sudden he's
might be more like the Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that's high praise. I don't know. I don't know that he's breaking. More breakout, I think.
Sure.
More the Rico Dowdle of the regulars.
Another guy who's broken out into a higher tier, Matthew, Baker Mayfield, who's been good the past couple of years, but right now he's the second favorite to win most valuable player. It was a couple of years ago he was on the Rams.
Second year,
getting cut by the Panthers.
Like starting the game by a mistake.
Yeah.
They were trying to find him a gig. He had to sign a deal in Tampa Bay, and there was a moment like just a few years ago where it was him or Kyle Trask.
It was a battle.
They were like, who's going to be the starting quarterback of the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask?
Yeah.
At any rate, we're long past that, and Baker Mayfield is now rightfully so, friend of the podcast, Baker Mayfield, rightfully so, one of the MVP candidates as well. Actually, if they held the vote today, he would get my vote.
He would win. Almost unanimously, he would win. He's been the best. He would, in terms of what resonates with MVP voters and all the highlights and the MVP play, Baker Mayfield would win a vote.
He had a highlight. And it wasn't even a throw this past
third and 14.
That run was unbelievable. And he's also been doing it with an injured cast. Like a lot of people coming in and out of the lineup and all kind of the last-minute wins.
Balling. Better than any year he'd been in Tampa Bay, and those have been good years.
Yep.
Well, and so this goes to your conversation about Mike Evans. Look, the Lions secondary, they're super beat up, and where you can really attack them is on deep passes, right? I mean, so they're bottom 5 in the NFL in terms of most yards and most touchdowns allowed on deep passes that are 1,500 yards more down the field. And so Baker literally has the second most deep pass attempts in the NFL this year. Like, we saw it with Tez Johnson last week. Like, he likes to chuck it deep. He's not scared to take a shot no matter who's out there. Through the last 4 quarterbacks to face the Lions had at least 3 passing touchdowns. He's a top 5 play for me this week. I think we want as much a piece of this Buccaneers-Lions shootout game as we can get.
Yep. Staying in the NFC South, Lawrence, which is a tough place to stay usually, but trending up, Spencer Rattler, who's just been solid this year, continues to, there's no Tyler Shuck chat, which I thought there would be at this time.
He's kept him on the bench. Not been great from a fantasy perspective so far this year. He's finished between quarterback 21 and 23 in 5 out of his 6 games this year. That's mainly because he's thrown for more than 1 touchdown only 1 time this season. However, the Chicago Bears have allowed multiple touchdown passes to quarterbacks in every single game except one. They've allowed the 5th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. They're tied for the 3rd most touchdown passes allowed to quarterbacks. And when you look at this game, 47.5 it's kind of high for a Bears and a Saints game. So give me Spencer Rattler. He'll give you 20 yards on the ground, too. I like Spencer Rattler.
Ratty ice.
Yeah, okay, let's get to others receiving votes. Just 2 quarterbacks on this list, a couple of NFC North brethren. Caleb Williams and Jared Goff.
Yeah, well, Caleb Williams is facing the Saints, your Saints, Jay. And over the last 4 weeks, quarterbacks that face New Orleans are averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. Caleb also gets you some yards with his legs. I was the top 7 play this weekend. And we just talked about this Lions-Buccaneers game. Over the last 2 weeks, Tampa Bay has allowed 340 passing yards to each of the 2 quarterbacks they face. Those quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Mac Jones. You're starting Jared Goff at home against this Buccaneers defense. I am as a top 12 play.
Okay, let's jump to the hate list, headlined by Talk of the Town. Jaxson Skywalker, who plays the Denver defense. A bit of a tough landing spot after that breakout game against the Eagles.
Yeah, second fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks as well. They're giving up but most importantly here, and we saw this against Justin Fields last week, the Broncos are really good against running quarterbacks. They're giving up just 7.7 rushing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks, right? And just 2.3 yards per carry. So Dart, who so much of his fantasy value comes from his legs, gets to a matchup here against Denver where a Broncos team that's held Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, and Daniel Jones to a combined 36 rushing yards. He's outside my top 20 this week again. They're just so good against running quarterbacks.
Yep, yeah. Lawrence, C.J. Stroud started to turn the corner, but tough matchup against the Seahawks.
Yeah, quarterback 21 in fantasy points per game, but that's lifted by the quarterback 1 week versus a horrible Ravens defense that was injured that week. Every other week he's finished between quarterback 15 and quarterback 26. Seahawks defensive backs could get a little healthier this week. They were missing Over-under is only 41.5. You know which game is higher? The Dolphins and the damn Jets. That has a higher over-under than the Texans and the Seahawks. So not loving C.J. Stroud this particular week.
Yep. I'm also not loving Matthew Stafford this week against the Jags in London with Puka Nacua uncertain, unlikely to go. There's a little bit of a red flag that the Rams only scored 17 points against that Ravens defense.
Some
they gave up
players
40 plus to the Texans. That was also getting some turnovers and favorable field position. So Matthew Stafford, look, I think the Rams offense will be okay overall, but the explosiveness that you saw, particularly in that Thursday night game against the Niners, wouldn't expect that without Puka Nacua.
For sure.
Okay, Sunday night, it's an NFC collision led by two electrifying playmakers. Bijan Robinson and the Falcons take on Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers in primetime, Sunday 7 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Going to hit our last break. When we come back, our best bets for Thursday Night Football between Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FFHH.
Whose crown is it?
DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown. It's yours.
I was wondering whose crown it was.
Okay. Thursday Night Football.
Turns out it's yours.
An AFC North blockbuster in Cincinnati. A lot of Aaron Rodgers bets from the public. Old passing touchdowns, 2+, minus 131. He is a bit of a passing touchdowns merchant, as we've spoken about. Lawrence, what's your best bet?
Give me DK Metcalf, 70 receiving yards at plus 117. He's hit this number 2 straight games. Cincinnati has allowed this number to opposing wide receivers in 5 straight games. He's got 22% of the targets this season. The next best guy on that team with that, Kenneth Gainwell, 16%, like DK Metcalf to get this here.
Okay, I'm going to go with my best friend, Joseph Flacco. Yes. Josephine Flacco, over 36.5 pass attempts. When will they learn, Matthew? All the man does is drop back and just chuck it. He just chucks it. He had 45 last week against the Packers. They're trending towards being almost touchdown dogs in this game. I think they're going to have to throw a lot. Don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. So Joe Flacco throws it at least 37 times.
I like it. He owes you some money. You should be able to win some money on a Joe Flacco bet. I'm taking Jaylen Warren over 71.5 yards yards from scrimmage, rushing and receiving. Look, the Bengals are giving up 166 yards from scrimmage to opposing running backs. 166. And we know in a short week, Aaron Rodgers is not going to want to drop back a lot. They're going to want to take advantage of it. So I think Warren touches the ball a lot. So if you're telling me they give up 166 rushing yards, you're telling me Jaylen Warren can't get less than half of that? Where else is those yards coming from? Kenneth Gainwell? Rodgers on a rollout? Like it's going to be Warren and Gainwell. And so Jaylen Warren over 71.5 yards from scrimmage for me today against the Bengals.
Okay, let's take a look at your top-rated players, Matthew. Not a ton of superstars here outside of Jamar Chase, who you're obviously starting, but a lot of guys who are going to be flex decisions for people.
To me, in an ideal world, again, this short week, 2 older quarterbacks, I think you want to start Jamar Chase, you want to start Jaylen Warren, you're going to start DK Metcalf, obviously, and that's about it for me. Chase Brown, you might be desperate, him or Gainwell. I have Gainwell 2 spots higher. Like if you're looking for a flex running back, okay, maybe. But ideally, I think this is a game to avoid for fantasy purposes if you can. Yeah.
Johnny Dangerly, the game tonight brought to you by Depends. When you need that crucial catch, count on Depends.
Johnny Dangerly should write commercials. That's pretty good. Pretty good, Johnny. Well done.
It's not bad by
He's saying, take that, Jonathan Medici. I'm coming for you. That's right.
I like it.
I get that.
-5.5. Who covers, Lawrence?
Steelers.
Yeah, I think the Steelers might have turned the corner last week coming out of the bye. Defense is healthier. TJ Watt looked like TJ Watt. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, that's the best that he has looked, I think, in perhaps 4 years.
I'm going to say I think the Steelers win, but the Bengals cover. They're at home, and I feel like Flacco gave them a bit of a lift.
Okay, from Loki, a lot of symbols going on in that name. At Croucher JD, Connor Rogers. This may explain the struggles of the ankler. At Matthew Berry, #FFA Happy Hour, #The Regulars. I'm Excellence of Flexecution on YouTube. NFL coaches are now a combined 2-12 on the season when wearing Breece.
Yeah, when you I don't have ankles today. Today I covered them up.
Good
but
socks,
generally
though,
speaking,
Matthew.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Great
but that's the
socks.
thing is that coaches that basically are showing their ankles are 2-12, and so maybe that's the problem.
Roll them pants down, coaches.
In the League of Assholes. It's closing time. You can't. You don't have to go, but you can't stay here. For Lawrence and Jay, I'm Matthew. Go read 10 facts on rotoworld.com. Peace out.